The time is now.
And then there were two. Welcome, good evening to NUFC Talk TV with myself and Andy Bokey. Chris is on he's taking a bit of a rest. He's out with the family. Wheaton's got a date with a mate who's come up from the south, so he's off out. So there's just me, myself, and I. Lovely Bokey. And we may have Jefferson, but Jefferson's on 90s Mags over on YouTube, obviously having his spiel with his lads. Obviously, all about yesterday's game. So we're going to get nitty down to the nitty and gritty, if you like, because there's been one or two things out there in the journo land, if you like, that we can get our teeth into tonight. But I suppose before we get into that, I suppose we better do the housework. So once again, thank you to everybody that's watching across all of the platforms. Thanks to everybody that works in the background. Don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoy the show. You've been absolutely fantastic for us over the last couple of weeks. Please, please, please continue to do that. It just helps us as a channel to get to other supporters. So subscribe, it's totally free. Hit the bell for future content. Sorry if you can hear my phone pinging in the background. It's going mental. Again, hit the bell for future content. We do 7 days a week, mainly live. Very rarely do we just put a feed out there. So it's all unedited. What you hear is what you get from us lots. Totally different opinions across the board. If you want to support us, you can become a member as well. Small monthly fee, different levels to choose from. Blah de blah. Please do that. It just helps us out again, getting forward. If you've got a question for either of us, until Jefferson comes along, put a Q in front of it. Ain't guaranteed to get to it, but if we do, then if you put a Q in front of it, it just helps us highlight it within the chat. If you want to guarantee that message to be read out, then use the $sign, follow the instructions, and then jump on board with a Talk TV super chat. Anybody that becomes a member or anybody that gives memberships will also be highlighted. And obviously, don't forget, we have still got the £5 entry fee for our prediction league. It's where you predict the Newcastle scores throughout the season, and if you're in the top 6, then you get a prize. Top 4 cash, 5th and 6th a prezi of some description, but it'll be more to the value of your entry fee. That's guaranteed. Andy, how are we after yesterday's saga? Obviously, we're going to get into a little bit more of the Alexander Isak story. But what's your thoughts? What did you find of the match yesterday? Did it blow your frock up like it did mine?
It did. It was a roller coaster, wasn't it, of a game? Fantastic. I mean, the first thing to say, it's a fantastic game, potential for game of the season, even at this early stage. Thought we were the better team for the majority, which is nice to see. I think Eddie got his tactics quite right. I think even after the sending off, his substitutes weren't. I can't be negative on the way he treated that situation. He did it. He dealt with it well. There was a problem that we seemed to turn off for some reason as soon as we seemed to come out in the first half when we first started the game really well, and we won it straight away. For some reason, when we come out after the break, we seem to have a 5-10 minute spell where we seem to go slightly off the boil a little bit. And this is not trying to be negative, but I think that is becoming a little bit of a thing. But as I say, the game itself and the in-game management was right. You can't fault any of the lads on the pitch apart from obviously Gordon. I know there's a lot of people out there. It was definitely a red card. Firstly, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. But in saying that, I don't want to take that side away from his game completely. In regards to obviously the passion and things were there, and you don't want to coach that out of him. You want to control it, so you want to be able to control it better. And I think also on the send off, it was a little bit frustration. He's obviously not a striker, the lad. We can train him as much as we can, and the coaches are obviously putting time in there, and you can see improvements. But he's never going to be coached to be a proper striker, like a proper number 9 striker.
Yeah, that's it's something that comes naturally. It can't be coached, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And as I say, that the lads doing a great job for, and I'm not going to sit here and slag anybody off for it. As I say, I just think it was a brilliant game of football.
What was your
Um,
thoughts on Harvey Barnes? Because he, for me, he had a very poor game, if I'm honest.
he just hasn't set the world on fire. For the last few months, basically. So
No.
I think since the cup final, he just seems to have gone off the boil. I don't think he's a star, to be honest. I think he's an impact player. I think he's a
Mm.
person that can come off the bench and have a massive impact on a game. But starting from the start isn't his. This is the big problem. We're not having the striker. We're not only losing out on not having the striker there, we're losing out on not having Gordon on the wing, and we're losing out by not having Barnes on the bench, which I know
Mm.
is a strange thing to say. But you've got sort of three. It's having a knock-on effect on other positions as well because of the way we're having to play.
Yeah, interesting one. I mean, like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, like I say, I couldn't get to sleep. My adrenaline was so high. 3 o'clock this morning, I'm still bloody tossing and turning in bed, trying to analyse how the game actually, got away from us in the end, because it looked very much on the ascendancy that we were going to go and snatch the winner. And yeah, I mean, I did. Like I say, my only concern, there's a couple of things, is, there's 2 points to coaching and getting the team set up right and ready for the second half. Um, 2 things that changed, obviously, was, as you quite rightly say, was the Gordon sending off just before half time. And then the lads have to readdress the system, the schedule. Eddie Howe went gung ho with a very 4-3-2 attacking system, and it worked. My concern was right at the very start when the ball goes back, and I think it's to Fabian Shaw. He goes long down the wing, and it was literally within the first minute. Newcastle pumped the ball down to the left-hand side, where you've got the likes of J7 marauding forward into that wing spot, which obviously now has been vacated by Harvey Barnes. Everybody has turned to try and support that punt. Again, very, the long ball seems to be coming back. We've gone very old-fashioned all of a sudden. Long throws into the box, something that we've not seen for a very long time, now seems to be coming back as part of the game plan. And for me, when you've got your 3 midfielders are your unit. They're the ones that are going to break up play. And again, we saw it for the first 45 minutes. That was a massive gamble for me. For me, it would have been a case of give it 5-10 minutes, just get yourself back into the game, settle, and then really go at it. And I thought, that really unhinged us a little bit by throwing that ball down the wing. J7 don't get off the floor 90% of the time anyway, never wins the header. Kanate heads it back. And before we know it, instead of being on the offensive, we're on the turn and we're in the defensive. And 2 balls comes to Ekatike. And, bless him, as we all know, Tonali's recoveries are phenomenal. And he does get back to try and upset Ekatike, but he has enough about him to pass the ball wide. And I think it's to Gagpo, who then obviously feeds him for a decent strike at goal for the 2-0 up. Again, in the first minute of the second half. Now, I've seen a lot of teams, and I'm going to feel as I'm going to shout myself in the foot here, but a lot of teams with a bigger name than Newcastle capitulate at that point. You're 1-0 down, you're going 10 men on the field of play. You come out and you concede within the first minute of the second half. So all of that team talk that's happened in the dressing room for the 15 minutes has just gone out the window. But, you've got to give credit where credit's due. And for me, phenomenal, absolutely fantastic. And again, I have to give amazing credit to, Bruno Guimaraes for his captaincy. I thought he was fantastic. I've started to watch the game back again, just on the the main talking points of the game, if you like, because like the game went by so quick for us. Doing the commentary, it was phenomenal. It felt like it only lasted 30 minutes. It was crazy. And like I said, on their final goal, there was a couple of players again blowing out the backside because they'd given it all for a good 7 to 8 minutes in that extra time. That just couldn't recover. And it left, obviously, Tino then. I mean, I don't know what Malik Chow was doing. He'd stepped out of line to try and close the space down, and the ball then goes quite, quickly to Salah. And again, it's that thought process. That's what makes these teams very difficult to beat. It's one touch, straight across the box, square. He didn't even want to control it. He just wanted to get out of his feet. He pings it through to Zoboslai, step over from Zoboslai, and it's through to Rio, number 73, because I can't say his second name. And it's a well-taken goal, Nick Pope has came into a lot of criticism about obviously not being able to get down to the goals that he conceded, or not even diving for the third one. Your thoughts on that?
I think both of them were. I've watched the highlights back. I think the first two goals were definitely just inside the post, weren't they? It was
they glanced the post. Yeah.
They were. I don't think any keeper stopped net. I do know that he does seem to have an issue on that. His right hand side. I'm trying to get the side right. His right hand side, isn't that? He seems to have a
doesn't spring very well, does he?
Yeah, he doesn't seem to go that side as well as he does his left.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was difficult for me getting to that point where I couldn't quite understand. But this afternoon when we went on Me and Win, you're trying to recall the game without watching it. But I must admit, I'll have to hold my hand up and say I probably need to, before I commit to the cause and comment, maybe rewatch certain points. But it does look very much as though he goes down in installments down to that right-hand side.
It does.
It's quite slow.
He's not. It's not. He's not. I mean, I was at the game last night, so I must admit I've watched the highlights once, so I haven't seen.
Yeah,
literally, I've been at work today, but literally, him driving to the right isn't his strong point. The only other two negatives I would take slightly from the game, and I don't want to because it was a great game, but I do think the point's worth raising, was how long it took Eddie to take Toon Army off when he, obviously with that injury. I think if there was 52,000 people in the stadium could see the lad. It wasn't fit enough to stay on, and I think he should have been took off. And the other slight worry is that we've played really good in the first two games. I'm not going to deny that, really good. Had great. Everybody's put in a shift. No issues there, but we've picked up 1 point.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but let's go for it from the other point of view, though. We come back to claw it back 2-2, so we get 2 games go by and we get 2 points. Would you feel any better having played as well in them 2 games and only still having 2 points? Because I'd have still felt the way I feel today.
Yeah. I'm not, as I say, I'm not putting anything against anybody. I'm just raising the 2 negatives that I've seen come out of the game, which is, as I say, we've played really, really good in both games.
You couldn't tell we missed a striker, couldn't you?
And Eddie as the coach has been let down by the recruitment team by we're not having a striker in. The problem is that he is part of the recruitment team. So
it's a bit of a sickener, and I suppose that leads us quite happily through to the Isak saga. Again, something that I was quite buoyant about yesterday, knowing full well that Jamie Rubin and a member of the PIF hierarchy had gone to visit his Northumberland homestead, wherever that is now. And sat down with him and offered him, by all accounts, a new contract. Made lots of promises to get him back, his mental state back to the black and white shirt. But it seems that, again, I don't know how true it is, because like I say, you only hear from the journos. It seems very much he's adamant that he still wants out, that until he gets some decision from Liverpool, that they don't want him anymore. And again, you listen to a lot of the noise in the background. They seem very happy to have Ekitike as their number one striker now, and maybe going for Vlahovic from Juventus as their backup striker, which means that obviously Isak will be left in limbo land. So again, Isak unfortunately seems to be the main centre of attention, overshadowing the Villa game as it did last week, trying to overshadow last night's game. And unfortunately, it was such a bloody good game. I think he's going to have a hard job with this one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yesterday I said in our group chat, today's got about the football, not Isak. But I mean, it's really hard to put him to one side. He obviously wants to be away 100%. That's obvious. That's 100% obvious now. I don't know if the club slightly shot themselves in the foot in trying to deal with it before the transfer window closes. Maybe that sort of meeting should have been held after the transfer window, if you know what I mean, just sort of the day after, if he is still here, to go into him and do that. And I get the point either way that obviously they're trying to keep him, they don't want him to leave in the transfer window. But I think the other side of the coin is it's made we look, again, a little bit like, well, we are, but as desperate as we are, sort of, for him to stay in regards to going out and doing that. To be honest, I'm really sick of talking about the Isak situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the big point that we should be making, which is going slightly under the wire, is we still haven't signed a second striker. Even if Isak stays, we really need to push for that second. If we had a second striker in for them 2 games,
yeah,
they would have scored goals in them. I don't think there's any real doubt about that from anybody. Anybody who's a striker would have had chances to put goals away.
I think that is it, isn't it? When you think about it, you have got the situation. Somebody in the chat has just asked me where I heard that from. Luke Edwards was the first, as you can see on the screen there. He literally sounded it out last night, I think it was. And obviously, there's a big report in the Telegraph, and it seems as though from listening to the Jungle Drums, the Keith Downeys and the like, the Craig Hopes, it seems as though there's some truth behind it. Because I made a comment at lunchtime of what Luke Edwards had said, and again, I said unless you're a fly on the wall within this his living room, how does he know that? So I don't know where that information come from, but he does state that he still wants to leave after new talks with the hierarchy. So it is like I say, a situation, unfortunately, that's not going to go away until we see one of two things: Liverpool come in with a bid we can't refuse, and again, by all accounts, there's nominal numbers going around saying some are saying it's going to be 150 plus now. Some, again, like I said before, from somebody that's actually linked to Liverpool, said that both clubs, before this saga had happened, had agreed 130 plus 10. Again, don't know how true it is. It's just something that's come via a reporter that deals with Liverpool a lot of the time. So again, very much like the Craig Hope scenario, gets a lot of the information and feeds it out there to people like me that probably wants to read it. How much do I believe in that? I don't know. Again, until I see everything written down from the others around me, again, it's just hearsay until something happens. But it is an interesting situation that we find ourselves in now, because we've got to a current situation where I understand, the players that we're going for. Again, a Wilson replacement, if you like. But why wait so long? We obviously knew that the Wilson saga coming to the end of his contract, and this is the only thing that I suppose "narc" is the wrong word, but I get a bit of confusion, right? And it's a similar situation to Isak. If we've known for such a long time about the Isak situation. And again, according to everything that's starting to filter out there now, we all heard of Eddie Howe saying that he had words with Isak, and he didn't elaborate on the conversation, but he did say there was a conversation between him and Isak. So there was obviously some idea of where we are going regarding direction. Wilson was offered a play as you pay contract, or a pay as you play contract, I should say. And obviously he refused that, even though he's gone down to West Ham and he's on the same contract there, which again ruffles my feathers. But is that something that, does some players know when the club has outgrown them? And I think that was where Callum Wilson was at that point, He always thought that he was going to be maybe an understudy towards Alexander Isak. The minutes were going to be limited. He's going to the capital. Family obviously wanted to be in the capital. I think it was an opportunity that the family, I suppose, twisted his arm and said, listen, let's have your final years in somewhere where the family can enjoy.
Back home.
Well, it's not back home because he's coming from Coventry.
Yeah.
But I mean, but yeah, it's south of the northeast.
Yeah.
So I understand that bit, right? But what really blows me is the fact that they've known about Wilson ages ago. They've known about Isak a year ago, apparently, or at least at the end of last season. So why have we waited until 5 days before the close of this window and still not got a striker in? It baffles me to think that. Listen, I understand them going for the elite side of it because of the Isak saga. They didn't want to go into the season with no striker in the team at all. So the idea was, I can only assume, was if that 130 plus 10 was the agreement, if they got a striker on the same type of standard, if you like, very difficult to replace Isak, if there is a replacement for him. So I understand them going for that, but surely the important point of it, and you've made a comment before, why only go for one player at a time? Yeah. When you need both strikers, surely they should have been highlighting a place for both strikers that aren't there anymore.
Yeah, 100%. And I think part of the problem is as well now, we're realising now that any striker we bring in, we're going to overpay for. But we're now going to be overpaying for a striker we didn't want as a first, second, third choice. I think we'll all accept that on both sides, we're probably down to at least fourth or fifth choice, if not a little bit lower. And we are going to have to overpay for them. So it's I mean, it's been a difficult window, but in hindsight, it's a massive thing in this. But when you look back on it, you'd rather that would paid a little bit more for the players that were actually wanted in the first instance, rather than pay a little bit extra for players that we didn't want in the first instance. But I think at this point, you've just got to forget all that, and we've just got to get somebody in who's of a decent standard to replace Wilson.
Yeah.
I think if we do that before the end of the window, we'll deal with Isak situation. Isak at this point looks very, very unlikely he's going to leave. There's very little time left. And then it sort of deal with that situation once the window's over. But we really, really just need to get that second striker in. The Wilson one, Wilson was a great player for, and I completely understand what you say about the little knock about the fact that he signed a contract with West Ham, similar to what we were offering. But I think, as you say, the club had outgrew him, and I think he knew that. I think at West Ham he stands a chance. It sense better. The more games they plays, the more chance he got, because they seem to be absolutely rubbish.
Yeah, I mean, Davey Eddie is saying, we've been trying to sign strikers, mate. Just decided against it. Listen, I know we've been trying to sign strikers, but when you're trying to fill two voids, it's a case of why not look at the market? You've got your A list and you've got your B list. So why not say, you concentrate on that list, I'll concentrate on this list. What we've been doing, it seems as though we've been casting all our efforts and all our mindset towards the replacement for Isak. even though somebody else has put in the chat, and this is Davey, Gary, we've got the upper hand. Isak's on a contract for 3 years. But it's no good having a player who isn't wanting to play for you because his mind isn't going to be the Isak, or the player's not going to be the Isak that we've known that's going to be banging in your 20 goals a season.
Can I just make a point on that, Gary?
Yeah.
In that, if we'd signed the second striker, which we always knew we were going to need by the look of it, and because we knew Wilson was gone, if we'd signed the second striker very early in the window, it would have took a lot of pressure off the Isak situation. In regards to going into the game at the start of the season, we would at least have had a striker to play there. And as I say again, hindsight's a massive thing, but we would have then had a chance to. If we'd had that second striker, we would have probably picked up 4 at the worst 6 points in them first 2 games. But because we haven't done that, we've let the second striker issue roll on as well as the main striker. It's sort of just tied our hands completely, and now it's screwing up on both points because the clubs that were going in for both types of striker, for first choice, second choice, or know that we're desperate basically, and prices are just getting hooked up massively.
It's like, with Stan Larson, he was on loan at Wolves last season. Obviously, they had an option to buy. That was part of the loan deal, apparently, Wolves. So, for me, it was a case of, if you're on loan, why not you go to his parent club at the time and say, listen, I know that Wolves have got an option to buy, but we want to buy. We want to come in there. They got him for 23 million. They're asking 70 million for this lad now. They're talking that they won't start negotiating until we reach 60. So, triple the price that they paid for him. I just find it absolutely incredible. And again, the Sorloth situation, poor at Crystal Palace. I know that in the Premier League. But again, are we at a point now where, because we're in a desperate situation, where we just want to fill the void? And it's like a name, I quite there's a name that's come out, the lad that's Artem Dovbyk, seems to be, because of the Wissa saga, because of the Strand Larson saga, Artem Dovbyk seems to be the lad from Roma that we're looking at now. And again, 28-year-old, oldish, coming to the end of his peak, if you like, as a striker. Can't get into the Roma side, which, again, you've got to question what's going on there, and what type of player are we going for. I liked Artem Dovbyk when he was playing. He knew. I think he got somewhere in the region of 17 in 46 games. Not massive numbers, but he has got the ability to find the angles, and he runs into positions. So I don't really know. Again, the current situation looks more in desperation at the minute than it does for the players that they've highlighted in that B list. And we've got to be careful.
We do really have to be careful, Gary, because part of the issue is as well, when you sign a player nowadays, they're on they're going to be on a 5-year contract, aren't they, for the financial fair play and everything. So whoever we sign, we've got to remember we're going to be paying over the top for, so we're not going to get any money back on them, and we're going to be stuck with them for the next 5 years.
Absolutely.
So we've got to be really careful. Signing a 28-year-old on that basis means by the end of the contract they're going to be 33. Which loops we're back to the same issue that we had with Wilson in his last couple of years, that once you start, I think strikers are a lot different to the players on the pitch, in that they're a little bit lone rangers. I think that striker and the goalkeeper, the two different ends of the pitch, are very much the same in that they're very much lone rangers in what they do. And if a striker is unfit, it shows for the rest of the team. Wilson, even if you look at Wilson, I don't like to harp back, but if you look at him in the cup final when he was trying to hold the ball up and things, he just didn't have it in him anymore. He didn't have the pace or the strength to do it. And that's what you need in a striker. I think if you're saying an older striker, the oldest age we should be looking at is 26, 27. Then you get into 31, 32 when they're going to be coming to the end of the contract. But as I say, even though we're desperate, we can't make the wrong signing because, as I say, they're going to be. Firstly, they're going to come in on massive wages because the players are going to know that we're desperate. They're going to come in on a massive fee, so we've just got to be so careful that we don't just go into ultimate panic mode and buy somebody who, firstly, isn't somebody that we particularly want, and secondly, isn't the person that's going to get work over the next 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. A little bit about Artem. He's left-footed naturally. He's preferred foot. So again, he's something different to what we've had before. I quite like the fact that he's a natural left footer. Because again, right to left sometimes can unhinge defenses regarding what they're looking for. 189 centimeters, so he's a tall lad, 28-year-old Ukrainian, 32.5 million according to this on his market value. Again, as you've already said, teams know we're in a situation, so that will probably end up around about the 40 mark to prize him away. But again, concerning for me, only 17 minutes played. And again, you can tell the lad's not having the best of times. I mean, his rating's only 6.4. But again, when you look at his player traits, chances created 53%, 49 aerial duels won. So, he's half and half. And in regarding goals, he's in the 63% percentile. So again, not massive stats. But again, has his head gone because he's fallen out with the Roma coach, and maybe he's again just lost that mindset that want to be involved in that club. I don't know.
I
Uh,
think I think what you
Difficult.
make the point you make about the left foot is important in that. I know it sounds stupid, but it is important in our front line because if I'm not wrong, I believe all the wingers are actually right-footed.
Yeah.
So I think having somebody up there that's left-footed gives you that. It's not a massive difference, but it just gives you that little bit of a difference up there.
Well, it's. I mean, as after it looks, most centre halves are right-footed. It's a
Yeah,
natural thing. So, being a left footer, you are running onto their strongest side, if you like, their tackling side. So it can hinder you. But it's like cricket, I suppose. If you're playing with a guy that's been a right footer on the first 70 minutes, and you put a left footer on, the mindset of a defender is always going to throw his weight one way
yeah,
before he has to adjust. So it can work in your favour. And I think that's where Asula gives us a difference because, as you saw yesterday, finished with his left foot.
yeah.
Somebody who's confident to have a go with his left foot, and it's not just to stand on. And again, that's something that I think is something to look at. But again, he doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence now. Um, doesn't seem to be the same player as he was before.
No,
Massive thank you to Andy Barwick for your 199, buddy. And he's asked for Larson or Wisser with a question mark. Now, gone quiet on Western fronts, if I'm honest with you. Like I say, Strand Larson, Wolves, according to the Express and Star, which is the local rag, if you like, to the Black Country, they're suggesting that Wolves wouldn't entertain a conversation unless they start negotiating at around 60, but they would be looking more at 65 to 70 to release Strand Larson, which I think is ridiculous money.
to be honest, I know we're desperate, but again, I know both of them lads are being quoted around the £60 million mark. I think I'd walk away from both of them, to be perfectly honest. I don't think either of them are worth 16. Again, we're getting into a situation where we're getting somebody in who isn't for our future and basically going to have no sell-on value. We're going to be here for 5 years. And I think next season or the season down the line, we're going to be. I think there's going to be a lot of people going, "Well, why the hell did we pay that much for them?" It's a really difficult one because we've put ourselves in this situation. I mean, I don't think we're going to be. I was thinking the other day, could we get somebody in on loan? But there's no chance that the club's going to, unless we have a right to buy them. Sorry, an agreement to buy them at the end of it, which is again a pointless thing to do. You may as well just buy them now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Lawson's a young kid, right?
Yeah,
I mean, he's not an old boy by any shadow of, and
no,
like I said, he gives you something different. The biggest thing for me, and like I said, you know, I've seen a bit of a difference in Eddie's tactics this season, and we go to the Chris Wood saga because Chris Wood couldn't hit a barn door for us, and we know that, right?
yeah,
So if you've got a player that relies heavily on somebody delivering the ball into the right areas for you, have we got at this present moment in time a team that is going to give him the opportunities to feed from? Because again, I go back to the Chris Woods. He couldn't do it at Newcastle, and yet he's shining lights everywhere else he's been. It's because of getting him the ball. It's the type of delivery that we put into the box. We don't do that for our strikers a lot of the time. Starting to see a difference, but again, when we're more a team that likes to drive the ball on the floor, try and get in behind into the channels, rather than floating the ball into the box. So, we know Strand Larsen hasn't got a lot of pace. He's strong, and he will always give defenders a headache. But you've got to supply him.
yeah,
And he's not going to create something like Isak does. Can create something out of nothing. And even when the chance has gone for Isak, still has that mindset to, as we saw against Man United with the instep volley pass to Tonali, which for me was probably still one of my favourite goals since the takeover. It was the way it was controlled, not only him being under pressure from the defender, losing a yard, if you like, the ball ricochets off him, but it's that mindset just to instep volley over the top of the defender for Tonali to then volley into the corner. So, these things happen. So I like Strand Larsen because he's an old-fashioned style striker, but I do get concerned to the fact that are we changing our play to suit Strand Larsen or another? Because again, if you went for Soloff, very similar type of player, not a player that's got the pace to go behind. And we saw how problematic Barnes had yesterday. When you haven't got that pace to beat players, you're reliant on players around you to link up play for you to get in behind. So it's something that we need to seriously look at. And like you say, if you're going to go and spend 65 million on him, it has to be well worth spending. It can't be just at the drop of a hat. And for me, 65 million for Strand Larsen, who's supposedly our B-list player, I think, come on.
it's too much.
Yeah.
I think as well, Gary, with that as well. In regards to the striker, I don't think they've got to have massive pace. I don't think that's an issue. If they don't, as long as they can hold the ball up and flick it on for the wingers to get, because we've got to think of Bond. If we've got a perfect scenario, Bonds won't be playing on the left. It'll be Gordon, Elanga on the right. Them two flying down, potentially. The pace thing isn't a massive issue, but again, it's just the fact, as you say, is he somebody who's going to. Is he someone that at the start of the window would have thought of signing? And I think that's the way to look at it now. And I don't think he even really came into the mindset. And
Yeah.
it's down to situation now that we're getting to the point where we'll have to do that.
Look who's here. He's back from his jollies.
We're getting to the
Right,
point where
up.
we'll have to do
You've got some repeat on.
No, I've been listening in the taxi.
How's your friend? Is he good?
Well, yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, very good night, but no drinkers there tonight. I was disappointed.
Was you disappointed?
But we had a nice meal at the Millbourne Arms.
Well, Bulky's been absolutely lost without you, mate, because obviously he's been,
He's got nobody to argue with.
He's got
exactly.
nobody to sledge.
And where's Jeffo? Because he's got nobody to agree with either.
Jeffo's still on the 90s mags the last time we looked.
Oh, right.
I'll tell you one thing I was going to ask you, Gary, just slightly off top of what we've been talking about, but do you think, I know he brought the cross pieces and sort of coaching, but do you think Eddie at this point should, at this window as well, should maybe have refreshed his coaching staff a little bit?
It's when you think of the way Eddie set up, we've all looked at some of I made some notes earlier. Some of his tacticals. Again, going off the last 2 games that I've seen. So this is some points that I've put down. So when you're saying about freshening up, it's a bit harder to bring in a like-for-like coach when you've got a plan set within the ranks. So all of your team players, and we've seen and we've heard this from Dan Byrne during the high performance interview. So here's some of the notes that I've put. You can either agree or disagree in the chat, but this is what I've seen. House side press not on a timer, but on a trigger. E.g., wingers lose touch or have dropped to midfield. That instantly cue to coordinated hunt down the flanks or through the central channels. Players learn 6 or 7 named pressing patterns, each tailored to specific zones, making the press second nature. The approach blends unpredictability for opponents with a clear structure, allowing creative outlets once possession is won. From the back 3 fullbacks like Tino Livramento invert into midfield to create overloads, while wing backs push wide to stretch defences. Midfield pivot pairs rotate, one drops to shield the back line, the other steps forward to link with the number 10 in a 3-4-2-1 scenario shape. Attacking midfielders interchange, dragging markers and opening lanes for late arriving runners from deep. And then you go, the set pieces, as you talk about the changes. Last season's corner routine bypassed traditional targets by isolating zones in Liverpool's defensive block, leading to crucial goals at Wembley. This summer, Jason Tindall stepped back with Martin Mark, recruited from FC Midtjylland. 27 of his 64 goals was from set plays in the long term. Took over introducing fresh free kicks, corner variations in training and matchday routines. Early displays at Villa Park and St James's Park have shown creative deliveries designed to disorientate zonal and man marking systems alike. So that's what I've written down. That is just something that I've highlighted over a couple of games. So you can see with this Martin Mark coming in, we talked about the long throw-ins. I was disappointed with some of the set plays, I must admit. They seemed to just go on a bit of a mystery detour. Again, you can see against the Villa Park, I mean, me and Wyn were laughing about it because you'd got Dan Byrne and Fabian Shaw colliding. Because again, it's about communication. It's about still getting used to the new routines and things like that. And you are going to have mishaps. And you are going to see players not doing what they're asked to do because they're only human at times, And like I said, my concern when you said just about you don't always have to have a pacey player up top. The biggest problem you have when you haven't got a pacey player up top is sometimes, unless we can cover the distance between the 3 in midfield and our forward line, which sometimes there's quite a huge gap because we don't naturally play with a 10. So what you get then is the Bruno, like I said, there's a bit of a different system now because instead of Bruno being asked to do the box-to-box, he's asked to be more of the offensive in the first half, especially because obviously we haven't got Willock. So now it's up to Bruno to sit in the half space, and you've got J7 and Tonali sitting in the deeper spaces. And then you get, like I say, this interaction with J7 at times just moving across into the 8 zone. So you get a 10, an 8 and a 6 all off centre, trying to build play around them. And again, my concern is with J7, with Bruno, as good as they are, still haven't got the pace to overlap, to get into the danger zones. So you're reliant on somebody else. And that's why I said, for me, what we missed a trick with yesterday and against Aston Villa is pace on the wings. You could see Yolanga getting behind all the time. Unfortunately, Barnes couldn't on the other side. So you're reliant then on your full-backs to get forward, to give you that ball, to get into the box. And unfortunately, like I say, we just didn't capitalise on what we could do when we were on the ascendancy. So there was lots to take from it. And we have lots to build onto. But I saw NUFC in the chat who threw a question in about why we haven't got a DOF. And apologies, because I wanted to star it and I didn't. So I've lost you in the chat now. But it was somewhere in the lines about Les Ferdinand being Ruben's mate. Why haven't we tapped him up to be our director of football? And again, a subject that I wanted to bring up with you guys as part of tonight's show is it's gone quiet again. On the director of football and the CEO. It's like I said, we've got these names all being lined up to come and walk through the doors. Ross Wilson apparently was the one that was picked and earmarked for the new DOF. But is it a plan from Nottingham Forest to stop him coming through the doors until the window closes? I think that was the plan all this time. Gardening leave it will be until, you can go, but not until the window is firmly shut. And we go from there. So what's your thoughts on that? Would you have looked at somebody like Les Ferdinand because he's mates with Ruben? I don't know whether he's got the capacity to do it. Being an ex-professional, it's like I said, not all ex-professionals, if they've played the game, can coach. And then surely that's got to be the same for talent spotting.
I think Les Ferdinand did a similar role at QPR, didn't he, for a little while?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, for a little while.
To be fair, I don't think we should go for a Les Ferdinand. We need somebody who's got a proven track record in place. The biggest concern is at the moment is that we just haven't had anybody come in. Sure enough, even though it's a transfer window time and the CEO should have nothing to do with transfer windows, that should be covered. Well, that should have been covered as soon as Darren Neal's obviously was proven to be sadly unfit to do the job. But I think both roles I don't know why they haven't been filled. I don't get it in my head why PIF haven't went out and said, look, we need to get these two roles. These are massive roles in a Premier League club. Why haven't they went out and filled them?
No idea, but hello, Jefferson.
Hello.
Hi, Jefferson. Just seen you there.
The 90s mag is with us.
What's happening,
so
people?
Let's prove how popular Jefferson is. Let's get those likes up, folks. 350 on the chat. I haven't even got 100 likes yet. Get those likes up.
The super sub has come on.
If you think Jeffco talks more sense than I talk, hit the like button.
It was like when we brought on Asula on yesterday. That's me. I've come on to get the equaliser.
I think if you're just watching now, if you watch up to the 45-minute mark, it's been a very civil show between them.
It's been a very civil show, yeah.
It's been, wow.
Yeah. Might be about to change.
I was going to say...
That accounts for why there's no likes.
Hey, hold on. You two have just come on. We've broke the ton. Oh, my God. Obviously, I'm going to say good night now.
Yeah. Their turn, Gary.
There you go. I mean, listen, the two super subs, what can I say? Listen, while you're on, mate, I was listening to your show. Very good. Nice to see. I can't never remember the lad's name, the Liverpool fan.
Scance.
Scance, yeah, that's the one. Very honest with his opinions. Very forward thinking. It was very enjoyable to listen to, put it that way. But you weren't sure on Pope, were you, son?
Oh, man. It's I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt for the first one because I actually thought he might have been blindsided. And I know it would have looked stupid, but I was saying that even if he dived the wrong way, I wouldn't have minded as long as he dived. I think it always looks worse when they're kind of...
You're right, that would have been stupid.
It would have looked... Everyone would have been like, what is he doing?
Exactly.
But it also looks like just out of place when they're just so flat-footed and they don't move. But the one that I was upset with was more so the third goal because I think James put in an explanation that he actually felt that maybe he might have been stifled by the dummy and thought it was going in the other side.
Was a brilliant dummy, man.
But at the same time, I almost feel like Pope's gone to that side. He's quite far leaning on that right side to tempt him, but then you're favouring that side. So the boy's body position, his hips are swung right.
Yeah, but
there's only one way it's going, and he's stood there.
Then the dummy happens, and he's got to suddenly switch, and then he's in no man's land, balance-wise.
Hey, Win, was you wearing your white coat yesterday?
Was I wearing my white coat?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's not you then.
Spotted him in the crowd.
Yeah. Well, he's.
No, I had this shirt on yesterday.
Well, it might be. Well, yeah, it looks. I don't know. It's an interesting one. It looks like because obviously I keep looking under the E to see if I can see, and I've got a picture of the E stand, and but I need to
So
blow it up to see.
the easiest way is the new when they changed all the seats and put the Adidas A right in the middle. The Adidas A is white, but the old black seats in the gaps are still there, and mine's one of the black seats. In
Yeah,
the
but when
gap.
everybody sat on it, mate, I can't see the A.
Well, that's true. Of course, yeah.
Sam, thank you, mate. Ilanga was hanging out watching SMH. Okay. Listen, while we're all here, again, I'll tell you what. I've listened to Bulky's thoughts. I did listen to your thoughts on 90s Mags about the game yesterday. I've listened to Win at dinner time. He's given me his opinion. So before I move on to the subject of the order, if you like, what's your thoughts then, mate, on yesterday's game? Did you enjoy it, or was it something that could have been better?
That's you, Jeffo.
Who, me? Oh, me?
Yeah.
Who,
Well,
what?
I've spoken to every bugger else. You've only just come on.
I'm a rubbish sub, aren't I?
You are.
Pass me the ball and I'm like, what? What do I do with this?
Yes, pick it up and run.
I tell you what, I mean, for starters, it was an emotional roller coaster, wasn't it? Because, you know, like I said earlier, we were sort of staring down the barrel or the jaws of defeat, so to speak. You know, when you go 2-0 down, you think that's all she wrote, and the trauma starts setting in. You think, great, you know, what's going to happen now? 3, 4, are the floodgates going to open? But I thought it was very much a heroic performance, Herculean efforts by some of the players on the pitch, namely our captain Bruno. You know, Dan Burn, who gets the assist for the second goal. Tino, who gets the assist for the first goal. You know, it was a real gargantuan effort to kind of crawl us back into the game. And all of a sudden, when you get to 2-2, you know, the draw at that point feels like a win because by right, let's have it right here. We're playing the champions, whether we're at home or not. We're playing
Let's
the champions.
have it right.
So to get back in at that point, and then you're thinking, well, are we going to go on to win this? Like, what's happening here? So it was very hard to kind of keep up, and it was very like emotionally led. But as usual, well, as has come to pass on occasion, the sucker punch happened, and then the
as
trauma,
so often
the trauma
happens with
hits the
the
type.
Merseyside Reds.
Indeed, I actually referenced it today in terms of there was the 14 minutes additional time at Anfield, Carvalho winner, and then there was the 2 unstoppable worldies from Nunes, which he rarely scores goals like that, and we couldn't cling on in that game as well. So there's something about Liverpool getting the extra minutes they need.
And then the 4-3, of course.
4-3 as well, yeah.
Yeah, it's
forget about
crazy,
that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
they've got to have it. We did get one back, but that only got us a draw. Last season, of course, when Kelleher dropped the bollock and Shea went in at the back post.
Yeah. Again, you know, there's a lot of people saying if Kelleher was in goal yesterday, it wouldn't have been a loss. It would have potentially been a win.
That's a bit harsh.
I think that is a bit harsh, to be fair. I think people are literally just pulling at anything,
Clutching at straws, I think.
to get something from that. To be fair, but you know, at the end of the day, the way I look at it, it was definitely a game of 2 halves, if you like. And I mentioned it today. It was like the first half with 11 players, we never looked like scoring as daft it looks. Final third again, decision making and stuff like that didn't seem to have a plan A, never mind a plan B. And when it wasn't working, the plan A, it was like, well, what can we do? Disappointed we don't get shots off. You know, there's players in that squad that have got a decent strike on them. So players coming into that 10, 25-yard zone. If you know you haven't got a striker to aim for, why are we trying to make the perfect goal? Why are we looking at the 6-yard box before we get a shot at goal? It seems
Wow,
very
excuse me, Gary. I don't know whether you're aware of this,
well. No,
but I've just got a beep there. Wolves have beaten West Ham in the Carabao 3-2,
right?
and they've come from 2-1 down after 63 minutes. And Strand Larson gets 2 goals in the 82nd and 84th minute.
Well, there you go. That's put another 5 million on his value.
That's 80 million now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
There's another
Yeah.
10 million straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was.
I mean, doesn't that just sum the tune up?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no
absolutely.
way.
It's crazy. It really is.
Wow.
What I was going to ask you, though, when I said the game of two halves, I was a little bit critical of probably J7 because I can't in my wildest dreams say that this was an Eddie Howe setup from the kickoff, going down to 10 men. Why on earth, when the ball goes back, I think it's to Fabian Shaw, J7 goes marauding down that left-hand side, first minute of the second half, a player down, and he's up against 2 players, Zoboszlai and Konate. Now, when the ball gets launched up to him, what happens then is we have this transitional switch of 2 players running directly towards him, and that was Bruno and Barnes. So what you have there is, Barnes is actually running away from him because he's thinking if he gets a knock down, there's nobody behind the defensive line. But when you actually look at it, he's still got 20 yards before he even gets to the defensive line. You know what I mean? And with Barnes' pace, he's never going to get there. So again, I couldn't understand the launch up to him with no actual attacker breaking the line. So if you're looking for the flick on, it ain't going to get anybody. And if you're looking to knock it back, then there's nobody close enough to him to actually to receive the ball. You got me? So what we had is a 4-3-2. We ended up with virtually a 4-1-1-1. It was crazy. So when the ball comes back, Liverpool do really well, as they always do. It's a knockback into the middle from, I think it was Gravenberch. It then gets played, I think it's from Salah, into the centre circle where Ekatike's got the run. And when you look at it, it's 3-on-3, right? They've got a break on, 3-on-3. So this is the first minute of the second half, all because of one decision. And that's where their goal comes from. And I couldn't understand that. That really frustrated me because I've said it a million times. As much as we know that J7 is the powerhouse in midfield, he is the one that will look to unhinge and unsettle opposition. But he can't get off the floor. So when you're launching a ball up there, what you've got to start asking yourself is who's in his spots if he's made that run? Because you got Tino that comes up, but he's got Salah, he's got Gravenberch. You know what I mean? There's a number of players that the one lad has got to pick up. But once he gets turned and the ball comes into Ekatike, he's got 30 yards of grass to run into. And if it wasn't for Tonali with his, again, recovery run, tracking back and just doing enough to try and unsettle him, but he still manages to get the ball off to Gagpo, who then obviously gets his shot blocked and the deflection comes lucky, falls back to his feet, toe poke square. And, what you get then is you get your 2 midfielders, Tonali and Bruno. Bruno's made 70, 80 yards to get back. Both then try and close down Gagpo, who's attempting the shot at goal, which leaves Ekatike wide open on the D. So again, it's like I said, they've set up this system where they're going to launch the ball forward and try and pick up that second ball, which, if I'm honest with you, not only did they win the second ball, they won the third ball, they won the fourth ball a lot of the time. The biggest problem for me was they didn't need to go at it that early until they'd actually settled into the second half. You know what I mean? Get your shape, get your heads right, because you've just had your team talk, get your head right, and then go for it as the game progresses. So, to go 2-0 down, and again, this isn't a massive criticism. I'm just saying, these are things that lose your games at the best of times. And you've said that before. We've got to, against really good top opposition in the Champions League. That's where we've lost in before. We were a little bit gullible. And I was listening to you guys on the 90s, where you were saying about the Champions League of the past, where we could have ground out the draw, but we end up still going for the going for the win, because we still want to remain in the Champions League rather than consolidating the Europa. Why haven't we learnt our lessons from days gone by? To me, it's a case of get into them. Yeah, I can't fault that, but keep your shape. Don't lose that shape. And I know Wynne said, like, this afternoon, well, that's how we got the 2 goals. But we got the 2 goals later on in the game. Once we became 2-0 down, there was nothing to say that if we'd have kept our shape for the first 10, 15 minutes of that second half, we wouldn't have still got the 2 goals, but then went on to win the game.
2020 hindsight.
Oh, well, that's what I'm here for. I've got my crystal ball.
A wonderful thing. It's like bringing Strand. This is even a bigger kick in the gut. Strand Larson didn't come on until the 73rd minute.
Wow. Wow. Well, I mean, his performance is awful.
84. My
Can I
God.
just raise a quick point? Jeff has great show the night on 90s Mags. However, there's one thing I want to pick you up on, and this might shock me because I think we're going to completely disagree with Jeff as here.
Whoa, surely not.
But on Anthony Gordon, I know you were a little bit down on him. I don't mind him to be fair, the tackle was awful, but I don't mind him showing that sort of passion running across the pitch.
Me neither, kid. Me neither.
I think it's a good thing. Do you know what it reminded me of? If it was of a young Wayne Rooney. I'm not comparing him to Wayne Rooney, but I'm just saying that sort of passion in him, and it's something that you don't want to coach out of him. What you want to do with it is coach him to be able to control it.
I hear that, Boki. I hear that. I'm with you. When you have mercurial talent, some of them can be out of sorts. Play on the edge, right? And that's what gives them their extra 10% because they play on the edge. But for me, it's petulance from Gordon. He's let us down again. He's had 3 red cards in his time with us, and he's had 2 within the last 20 to 25 games. In that period, he's had no goals, no assists. So the difference is, you mentioned Wayne Rooney. Forget about the talent levels. At least Wayne Rooney's producing. So if you're producing, or a great example would be Diego Costa. I would be willing to put up with Diego Costa's red cards because he's banging in goals for fun. That's okay to an extent. But it's getting to the point now with Gordon. He's letting us down in crucial times when we need him. Why be suspended for 3 games now when we're light up top? So I've lost patience with him. I'd lost patience with him for footballing reasons. Now I'm adding this to it for me. He doesn't quite have the talent to back it up for me.
Jeff,
He's getting away with this kind of behaviour.
We're asking the lad to play in a position that isn't his natural position. We're asking him to do a job that isn't what he naturally does. I think it's fine saying that he's letting me down, but I think he's doing a job for that he's not naturally able to do. I think that's the problem, and I think
doing a job for the team.
He's doing a job for the team. But if he had been on the left wing and we'd had a decent striker in both them games, I think we would all agree that we would have won them.
I mean, listen, I'm not having a go at Gordon for missing chances. That's a footballing situation. He's been asked to play out of position. Yeah. He's given his best. That's not his fault. Not taking chances that a more cultured centre forward would take. But the attitude and the way you conduct yourselves on the pitch is important. We're playing the champions, Liverpool, in what's a high stakes game, high emotions. We saw the fans were our 12th person rather. You got to stick in there. It's the first half. So I'd get it if it was the first 10, 15 minutes. You put the hard challenges in. He'd had a good half as well, so he'd settled into the game. So is that premeditated? Is that overexcitement? But whether or not we look at the shade of grey, he's let us down again.
It's 100% a red card. I completely agree with that. He didn't, but I don't think he's.
Mackems have just been beat on penalties by Huddersfield.
Oh, shame.
Hey!
Oh, shame.
What a shame.
Go on, you Terriers.
But I do think with Gordon, you want that passion in him. You don't want him to lose that. And when, as I say, the challenge wasn't great, but it's been done in the right sort of spirit of the game. If that makes sense, he hasn't
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, he hasn't sort of let we're down. He's tried to fight him with belly, basically.
But he's raked another player down the calf, Boki.
But
And knowing the consequences of what might happen there, because
But do you
listen,
think
we're
he's done
praising
that
the team for their spirited performance. I mean, thank God somehow we mustered the energy to get back into the game. It could have ended up the other way, going 5-0. And then you're looking at the player that's been sent off. So he's bringing pressure on himself, thinking about, and I'm going to back Eddie here. He's putting pressure on Eddie, who's under huge amounts of pressure at the moment, having to answer silly questions about Isak. And all he wants is his team to perform on the pitch. We can't cover for the boy. He lost us the game against Brighton as well. He's not producing. So for me, I don't want to see him on the pitch for a long time. Like, I think Eddie needs to actually punish the boy and be
shut
like,
up, man.
But
sit
he's
on the
doing-
bench for 10 games. You know what I mean? He needs to learn. This for me is
Bollocks.
last chance saloon now. He's had three
he's-
red cards, guys. Three
But
red cards.
he's doing a job that he's not naturally able to do. So there will have been a little bit frustration in that tackle, and there will have been a little bit sort of
But Boki, why is he frustrated? Why is he frustrated when he's had a good half?
because he's playing up front.
He's
And he's
created
not a striker.
opportunities.
He's
That's
trying
okay.
his best to play. Me and Gary were talking before the match. I says
If he's guilty of anything, it's trying too hard, and I'm never going to decry anybody for trying too hard.
Me and Gary were saying that the two positions on a pitch that are slightly different to anybody else's that you can't really cover are a striker and a goalkeeper. And with the striker, a defender you can ask to play in midfield, and it's a bit of a chore, but it's not. It's quite natural. They still kind of got the same idea of the game.
But the play, Boki,
A striker's completely different.
but the play's going through him, Boki.
In that a striker has to be able to score goals. Basically, their job. They can stand around and do nothing for I think Isak's the biggest example of this.
But the play's going through him, Boki. The play's going through him. So obviously we dominate play on the right hand side. So Elanga's seeing a lot of the ball. If anybody's going to be frustrated, it's Harvey Barnes, because he's got no one to do the 1-2 with. He hasn't got Isak to hold the ball up top, and all the play is being fed towards Gordon. If anybody's going to kick off, is him.
It's not because Gordon isn't.
Breaking news. Leeds are getting beat 3-0 on penalties by Sheffield Wednesday. Calvert-Lewin's missed a penalty, and Longstaff's missed a penalty.
Hey! Well, that magical penalty from the second round last year looks even more pivotal.
my
Actually,
God.
that's it. Of course, that's it, isn't it? That's it.
That's it. They're finished, yeah.
Sheffield have won now.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy, isn't it?
I think he's like I copied Big Yinks. Big Yinks was saying that he's a pet project of Eddie's, and he's maybe got a soft spot for him. But I think time is running out for Gordon now.
No, I think the reason
we're at the
Eddie,
highest levels of football now.
the
and if you're not
reason
producing,
Eddie
you've got to
has
go.
got a soft spot for Gordon is because he's one hell of a player. That's why.
But he needs to show us.
Why do Liverpool want him?
Well, I think that was over a year ago.
Chris, the American Mark
it's
saying
been
that tackle
21
has nothing to
games.
do with playing centre forward. Come on.
Yeah.
And Sam here is saying Gordon is too smart to do something that dumb.
He has to produce at the end of the day. He has to produce. And he's picked up more red cards probably in the last 20 games than he has goals. I think the last goal he scored, I believe, was the 15th of January, and the last assist was like the 25th of January.
Well, I'm sure
But
you
for me,
know that. I'm sure you've looked it up.
that's a passenger for me. His time
Oh.
is done in terms of starting automatic starts for me.
So
Well,
are you going to start Barnes instead?
Yeah, Barnes. Listen, Barnes was our second top goal scorer last season.
Barnes was
It's-
awful.
Barnes has
Barnes
been
was
rubbish.
awful at the weekend.
Although hold on though,
Sorry,
what
on
was
Monday.
quite interesting, I'm sure you've probably already discussed it. The two chances in the first half, the first one where Barnes puts in another delicious ball, by the way, it's actually Elanga's fault because Elanga should have said my ball or leave it, and Gordon would have dropped, and then Elanga would have had a tap in at the back post. And then likewise with the other cross, if Elanga looks up one more time before he crosses the ball, he could have chipped it a bit higher and Barnes would have had a tap in at the back post. But because maybe it's something they've been asked to do, which is to feed the striker, the balls are coming into the middle. But actually, on both those opportunities, both the wider players had a tap in if they communicated properly as a front line.
2020 hindsight. It's wonderful. I love it. I love it on Sky Sports when they look at a goal and they put the circles on the players and they say, he should have done this, he should have done that, he should have done this. What a load of nonsense. Anybody can do that after the event. After the event.
yeah, but
Casey Gordon's still golden boy.
It's so easy.
Do you know what? Well, Gordon's. Don't get us wrong. I'm not particularly. I'm not saying Gordon's a brilliant player, but I think the other side of the coin as well as with Gordon is he has been quite professional with it. You look at Isak at the minute. Liverpool put a bid in for him, and he went off on strike. Gordon, we offered Gordon to Liverpool, and Gordon went along with it. The deal didn't happen. And yes, he was a bit off for the start of that season in regards to his playing style. However, he never made any public announcements. He didn't show any dissent to Newcastle United. He just got on and played. So,
And I thought his statement last night was excellent.
Yeah, we can't slag Isak off for the way he's went on without praising Gordon for the way he did. Because if
We're
anybody had
praising him.
but if anybody had the right to come out and say, I'm not playing for Newcastle United again, they offered me to Liverpool.
Because that was Newcastle.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I'm sure Gary will back me up on this. Is it just me, or did Gordon?
hold on, whoa! I'm just listening.
Is it just me, or did Gordon disappear for the first third of the season last season?
Oh, I'm not saying he wasn't disrupted by
He's-
what happened.
Droppiness. We've been through that.
But did you ever hear that lad come out and say, I want to go to Liverpool? I want to play
Or
for
I'm not playing for
Newcastle
Newcastle again.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what happens behind closed doors, but his attitude on the pitch was he might as well have not have been there.
But he never showed disrespect to he never showed disrespect to the fans. He never showed disrespect to the club. He kept his party to himself. Everything that we've called Isak for, you've got to praise that lad for keeping very quiet, even though it's a club that he supports and I'm sure would have loved to have went to. He never made any public statements or anything calling the fact out that he was offered to them and you know.
Do you reckon the Gordon was anything to do with this?
Maybe.
Where Virgil van Dijk left a little bit on him.
Yeah, that was the elbow.
Yeah, and he obviously never went to VAR because the referee didn't see it apparently, so he didn't do anything, didn't caution Van Dijk, because obviously if he'd have cautioned him, it would have been a penalty. But again, that was an incident totally off the ball, where he come through him with his shoulder and literally poleaxed him. And like I said, there's potential. Now, I have to err on. I have to err on the caution side, simply because when you're up front and it's not your natural position, you can run and make yourself a nuisance all day, every day. And we've said this with Asula, running backwards and forwards, yo-yo type of attackers is easy to defend. What I saw from Gordon more yesterday than against Aston Villa was more of the diagonal work, was coming out from the far post and attacking the ball within the far post. Hence, he gets more chance of getting his header on target, a little bit under the ball, but at least he'd got that right. He's certainly working the channels right. But I think yesterday, and again, this isn't me saying that that's the reasons why he's done it. All I'm saying to you is, with the atmosphere in the crowd, with everything that was G'd up, and I've said it before, when you've got that pressure cooker on you, sometimes the will to get the ball back outweighs whether I can. And it's a case of, I need to show the crowd that I'm willing to go for this. Because as I've said before, with the Diaz tackle off Flugstaff, it was a bigger shout after the Shaw sending off than it was when J7 scored the winner. So sometimes you do get that adrenaline, you do get that buzz, you do get that, I am going to keep running and go. The only thing I criticised Gordon for was leaving the floor because it was just going to get hoofed. So there was no reason for him to make the challenge. Make the run by all means, but he doesn't have to dive in. I mean, he does pull out of it to a degree, but there was still enough in there for the studs to go into his sock, tear a hole in his sock, and leave 4 or 5 marks down the calf of Van Dijk. So there was definite contact there. Nobody can deny it, and nobody's saying that it isn't a red card, because it is. But again, I think there's a reason for him to have done what he's done. But I think it was more for the fact that he's got to try and close the ball down because of the atmosphere, because of that passion that was around him at the time. And even from the captain, he'd seen the drive from the captain. So again, I think us looking at it and isolating that one particular incident and saying, he should be on the bench for 10 games or so, I think he's probably a little bit far. I do think we've missed an opportunity to get him on the wing and maybe release Barnes through the middle. Because if you're going for the likes of Strand Larson, the likes of Sorloth, who haven't got the pace, and we've said it all along, why not give it a shout? And to keep with pace going up the front line, again, if it's not working, make it change. You've got to think of different opportunities. And like I say, what happened to Sue Park? Because, somebody exciting.
So Galahad there saying, got to give Sue Sung and Asula a chance. Well, I think they're going to get a chance.
Well, like I say, the person that should be dropped after 2 games now is Harvey Barnes for me, because I think he's had 2 stinkers. He's had 2 stinkers. Now, anyway, before obviously I lose my concentration again, which is easy for me to do these days, can we have your thoughts on Keith Hackett? Right. So Keith Hackett has come out now in a lot of the journals and said that he needs this game, or he thinks that this game by the PGMOL needs to be investigated because of the amount of time the ball was actually in play. Unfortunately, I haven't got the article in front of me. It was something that I read early this afternoon.
40.4%.
Yeah, I think it's the lowest one for 15 years or something silly, isn't it?
Wow.
Stoke versus somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it needs investigated by the police, because the way we played, we got robbed.
I mean, I mean, I understand what I'm frustrated because of the amount of challenges, and decisions that actually went against us. But does it really need investigating? I mean, it really makes me laugh, because Keith Hackett talks, speaks as it is. Okay, the ball's not in play, but then he goes underneath and says, "But it wasn't the ref's fault." So who's he blaming?
Well, I blame timekeeping me, and I've said for long enough now, when I'm almost a lone voice, to introduce a stop clock. Play 30 minutes each half, ball in play, and then that completely eliminates any tendency for any team to waste time. Because the average time for ball in play now in a Premier League game varies between 52 and 61 minutes. The average is about 56 minutes, ball in play. And I say 30 minutes each half, ball in play. And it does away with all of this.
Well, I can't understand why they can't just stop the clock when the ball goes out of play. There's got to be, you've got all these fourth officials and everything else going on. Why can't they just be a timekeeper? Somebody goes down, the
Isn't
referee
that the
stops the
fourth
whistle,
official?
blows the whistle.
Well, there can be, but then if you had 45 minutes ball in play each half, you would have 3-hour games.
Yeah,
I
but at
thought
the end
that-
of the day, that's what you pay your money for, isn't it?
I thought that was the role of the fourth official. No.
No.
No,
No,
no.
it's
It's
wow.
still the referee's job to
Yeah.
keep time.
I mean, he does. I mean, when you say that there is some scope, and again, I think it's all guesstimated because, like the 11 minutes when I've watched the game back now, and I've done a brief because again, you can't always see where the referee is and when he blows the whistle on certain points of the game to stop it because obviously we can see a player go down, you can see the ball go out of play. So for me, it was as simple as just stopping me watch. And I got it to 9 minutes, 40 something seconds, right? That's what I got it to. But again, it's a bit of a guesstimate. So
Well,
where they got the extra...
408 times 117, which is how many minutes were played with both halves extra time. Oh, wait a minute. 47.73 minutes. The ball was in play yesterday.
47.
47 minutes the ball was actually in play. 47 out of 117 minutes played.
Yeah, it's shocking. It is poor.
Pathetic, man.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's what Keith Hackett was moaning about. He was moaning more the fact that it's value for money for punters that pay good money to go and watch these things because they're being robbed. They're being robbed by, obviously, finding injuries, ball out of play and the referee not actually pushing teams to get on with it.
And goal kicks being taken from the opposite side to what they should be taken. And
everything is obviously strained a little bit regarding the
how many
rules.
times do we see throw-ins and they go and they go and
Lads,
they go.
I do think we need to be a little bit careful on this one as people who throw stones in glass houses because we've been guilty of what's
Yeah, we've been.
Oh, absolutely.
The point is, Bogey, if you do away with that, if you stop the clock, it's pointless because you're not gaining anything.
You're not gaining anything. It affects
It's
both
an
sides,
absolute
doesn't
waste
it?
of time doing it for everybody.
That's what I
And
said.
the-
It's an
and the
even
note
playing
is-
field. But it's
Well,
obviously
you
something
do-
that needs to be looked at. I mean,
What
I didn't
was
see.
more-
Was Ref Watch on today? Because I would
don't
have
know.
loved. I would have loved to have seen some excuses from Mr. Hooper yesterday because I thought he had a bit of a stinker. So we have spoken, me and you, Win, about obviously our thoughts on the game and the officials, but I haven't heard anything from Boki or Jeffo. So, what's your thoughts on the officiating yesterday, Boki?
I think the ref on the pitch was, again, you don't want to sound like
Sour grapes.
sour grapes, but he was very much Liverpool. It looked like he was looking at the game through Liverpool eyes. And I think as well with VAR didn't even check that challenge on Bruno,
No,
as far as I could see.
he didn't.
Or on
Yeah.
Gordon.
Or go. I've said this for a little while. I don't understand why with VAR they don't introduce like they do in other sports where
Challenge.
the challenge against
Exactly.
the challenge against it. So maybe instead of having it VAR check every decision, it's up to the bench. You get three chances to have a VAR.
Well, I would say 2 each half.
Yeah.
And if you have a successful challenge,
If you have a
you've
successful
still got
chance,
your
you
two.
chance.
Yeah,
If you
that's
lose
like
it, it's
tennis,
gone.
isn't it?
Yeah, tennis, cricket.
It's across a lot of sports, and I don't get why we don't just do it that way. Because firstly, it would stop you having all this piss on with every decision.
and then it's down to the coaching team of their team. If then at a later time there's a foul which is discovered should have been a penalty or whatever, and if
there's no argument.
If the coaching team, if Eddie Howe hasn't challenged it, then that's his fault. It's down to him. Because obviously whatever happened was patently not blatantly obvious. And what's clear and obvious mistake?
And plus, I think you would have less of the lesser VAR things that happen.
So do I.
You'd have a lot less of them, and it would only be the major. I think VAR was introduced, as far as I can see, to look into the major incidents in a game.
Goals and penalties originally.
Whereas now we just seem to be getting into loads of little nitty-gritty stuff. So, as I said, I don't know whether they just don't say, look, VAR's working out great. Sorry, not working out great. VAR's working out in regards to it can pick up on decisions, but we're now going to put it into the coaching staff's hands. So they choose when they want to have a VAR review. And I think it would speed the game up a little bit as well.
I mean, it's a good point. I mean, for me,
sorry, Sir Galahad just bring that Canardi, that two-handed push on
Barnes. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I mean, again, you could say, was he goal side? Was he clear on goal? There's probably a case for him not being, through on goal direct. But when you're pushed off the ball like he was, and it was clear, and that's what I said. The wrapping of the arms from Gravenberch.
He looks like he's about to give
on
him
J7.
a German suplex, if anybody knows.
Exactly.
That is.
Heimlich remover.
Do you know why I think the FA will be against all this? Is because they'd shit themselves that decisions like that would be challenged. And the referee and the VAR team would be forced to make a decision. Whereas at the minute, they've got control over everything. So they look at things and they just go, oh, well, the referee, it's the on-field decision, that's fine. I think what they need to do is flip it and say it's not the on-field decision. It's if a challenge is made and the decision is wrong.
That's exactly what it should be.
And then what happens is, so VAR then look at it.
Yep.
And when VAR look at it, and if whatever decision they come up with, whoever is the key person making that decision, because it'll invariably come down to one guy. If there's a difference of opinion, somebody has to make the final decision. And it's then up to that guy to face the cameras after the match and explain his decision.
Yeah.
I mean, you listen to all the PGMOL talk, at the start of the season, how much training they've done to get it all right. And yet you witness that. And yes, I'm a Newcastle fan. But if that performance from the officiates would have been against anybody not involving Newcastle, I'd have had the same view.
Can you imagine if that had been against Arsenal?
Can I ask a quick question? Who actually makes the decision that VAR look into a decision or not?
Well, it only has to be if a yellow card's been given, so the ball has stopped play. Then if VAR deem that decision needs to be looked at further, they will ask, as they did yesterday, Mr. Hooper to go and have a look at the monitor to assess the situation again. Once you plant the seed in somebody's head, like they're not saying that you've made a mistake directly, but they're planting the seed in your head to say that you potentially have to change your mind.
That wasn't actually a question I was asking, Gary. What I was saying was, who decides what VAR look at in the so forget about the yellow card. Who decides what decisions VAR look at and they don't look at?
They can only look at goals and build-ups to goals, red cards, and what's the other thing? And that's it. Goals and red cards.
But did I say that decision was potentially a red card on Bruno, the challenge? Sorry, I can't say the lad's name who made the challenge, but that was potentially a red card.
Yeah.
Why? Who makes the decision?
That's the video assistant referee, whoever is sitting in VAR.
So technically, the whole point of VAR was that they don't have control of the game, but they do in a way.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if the referee he gave Gravenberch a yellow card, right? But because VAR didn't deem that as being an uncontrolled challenge, even though both feet were off the floor, even though he scissor kicks him and he comes in at the side of his knee, which is, a very dangerous tackle at the end of the day. Because again, we talk about being in control of the challenge. So to me, it was a plain and obvious. Can you go and have another look, please?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm all for allowing the referee on the field of play to make decisions, because what we don't want is to give them the easy way out, if you like, and allow somebody else who sits in an office to make decisions for us, because that will spoil the game. But if you make a mistake, which was clear and obvious for everybody else, doesn't matter what colour you wear, then surely to God, somebody needs to be pulling these guys up and saying, how did you miss that? Because there's no comeuppance. It's all right. It's all right. Keith Hackett saying, it's not value for the players, for the fans. Sorry, but God blimey, you've got to think of the safety of the players at the end of the day. The referees, yes, they're pretty in all the different colours. It used to be the refs in black back in my day. They are there to safeguard the players on the field of play, making sure that anybody that's getting out of hand stays within the laws of the game. That is what they're there for. And to control the match progression and everything else. And I'm sorry, but it feels as though they're failing at every attempt of what they're trying to achieve. And again, you look at all the training that these guys do, it's all right being able to keep up with play, but if you can't make the right decisions, I mean, I was up here and I said on the commentary, and I didn't have to have a look at VAR, he's off. And Chris was talking, and I says, that's a red card. You don't need to go and look at a video. But again, you say, yellow card, bloody hell. You got away with one there, and straight away, VAR in his ear. Can you go and have a look at the monitor? But he didn't do it for Gravenberch. And again, it's just standards. Is it? Have they got the upper hand type of thing? Have the Elite Six got the upper hand on the rest of us?
Historically, we've seen this play out many, many times, though, haven't we? We've seen this play out many, many times. Liverpool players diving, getting penalties. Historically, Liverpool get the rub of the green. Man United, Man City, to an extent Chelsea. These teams get the rub of the green when it comes to refereeing decisions. And I did see a comment in the chat, and I was going to make a point about it because I spoke about it earlier. So it was from Kristofsky. He talked about it earlier about fighting fire with fire, and we're physical, so we should expect getting physicality back. And I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I'm sort of getting a bit tired of it now. I think we need to move on. I think it was great when we were in the battling from relegation and trying to establish ourselves and all this stuff. I think we need to start playing football now. I think because the issue will be is we're dishing it out. It's going to come back. And then,
it has come back, hasn't it?
This is it. And then we're kicking and screaming and moaning and saying, oh, but they fouled us. They did this, they did that, when we're doing the same thing. Let's just get on with it and play football. We're trying to model ourselves on Atleti, and we're not as good as them. But I just think, we need to change the style. This physicality and the dark arts, I actually think it's holding our progress back.
But do you know what, Jeff, although Liverpool play the dark arts as well. The last couple of managers, Klopp and Slot, both have come out and said, if you listen to him after the game, I say, I don't know how much football was played in that game, which is bullshit. We were good in that game. It doesn't matter what anybody says. We were a good team.
That's the thing, though, Boki. I think we have players and we have the coach that, I don't see a reason why we can't change this and why we're still doing this that we've been doing for the past 3 years. It was different when we were plucky underdogs. Now we're trying to elevate ourselves to a position where we can be like a Liverpool. So we shouldn't have to be resorting to this high physicality, fouling, getting, some we get away with, some we don't. Obviously, as you saw with Gordon, in potentially Bruno's instance, we did, or historically with Joe Linton, actually, we've seen it. Remember when he cleaned that player out against Bournemouth? We do get away with some, but we have to be prepared that it's going to come back our way. And I think a part of a way of eliminating that is just by not playing like that anymore. I think we need to move on from it now.
But I think
it's funny how you seem to hone in on the times when we've got away with it, and you're saying nothing.
You didn't hear what I said. I
did hear what you said.
I literally started with, it happens all the time. We should expect it because the big six get favour. I literally started my response with that.
But that's exactly
and it's happened against us many times. But I'm saying we can help ourselves by not sinking to that level. You know, this isn't Serie A. Do you know what I mean? We're not like some Italian team. We don't have to resort to the fouling and all this. Like, just get on with the game.
No,
You know,
But
we've
do you
got
think it'll take
players-
the game away from us?
All I want
players
is
that can play
all I
football
want
now.
is the referee to do his job.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
if that
what
involves
happens, Win,
if that
what happens,
involves
Win,
punishing us,
One of
so
you,
be
one of
it.
you.
but Win, what happens is if we antagonize the other team, they then come back with similar tactics, dirty tactics,
Right?
But
Fine.
and then the game gets murky.
Lads,
I'm not saying people shouldn't be flying into challenges. We all love that. It's all elements of physicality, intensity is part of the action. But if it's like 90% of your play, we've got something wrong here.
It
I
wasn't
think-
90%
I
of
think
our
we
play.
focus on that element of the game too
Can I,
much
can I
now.
just finish the point I was trying to make? Is that in regards to that, the whole thing, Liverpool managers are very good at setting that mindset before any game with Newcastle that we're going to be physical, we're going to be fouling them, and it's basically getting the mind of the referee and the coach and the referee and staff, in my view, in regards to the looking out for Newcastle then. And you talk about us doing the dog arts. That's a dog arts by Liverpool, in that they're saying, you know, Newcastle are a dirty team. Basically, is what they're saying. And to be fair, last night I don't. As I say, the Gordon challenge aside, I don't think it was a dirty game, Bible. I think
We give them a decision to
I think
make.
but I
you
think
know.
we were the better footballing team last night. And
I hear that, but we're the only team that got a red card.
Yeah.
You know, facts are facts, because the situation is, we know they're biased. We know this. So why are we giving them that power? Because we know when the decision comes, it's likely going to go against us. So how do we eradicate that? Stop doing foul play.
Well, anyway, Sammy,
doing
thank
foul
you
play.
for your 199 super chat. On a positive note, Ramsey must play.
Yeah, did
Yeah.
well. I was. I suppose we should get onto that. I suppose, like I said, lads coming on for injuries. Again, we're not 100% sure how severe these injuries are. According to Joe Linton's missus, it's not as bad as we first thought. Again, if you look at the translation, but he's going to miss the international. So if he's going to miss the international, does that mean he's going to be out for 1 week or 6? It still doesn't mean anything, does it? It's not as bad as we thought, but he's going to miss the international break. So Tonali potentially could be the one with the AC joint. So we are still waiting for any scans to come back off that to realise where we are with that. But I wanted to move on to the subs for you guys, because I thought that was, again, we've had a disagreement before. You guys saying that we haven't improved the squad. It was nice to see these lads yesterday for the first time grace the grass at St James's Park. So going back on, obviously, you know, Andy, you've said before that would any of these start in our 11? And we've all said, well, I don't think they're there for the starting 11 yet. I think it's just about building the blocks, the stepping stones for them to be included within the 11. But I enjoyed what I saw yesterday, apart from Malik Chow, who made me a little bit nervous at times. So, having looked at the lads now in a black and white shirt, what's your thoughts with the inclusion of them yesterday? Andy?
Well, you've had mine, so...
Yeah, that's what I said.
Me, Ramsey, I've got to say, was looked really good when he came on. He again, as I say, I've watched back the highlights, and I was at the match. I haven't watched the full match back, but he seemed to be really good. Chow did worry as he looked like Shaw when he used to have the blonde moment,
rabbit in headlights at for a time, wasn't it?
Defense.
Yeah, so you were happy with what you saw, though. I mean, you could see there was a bit more quality within the bench now.
Yeah, but to be fair, I think when really moving forward, need to look at the back four and getting a couple of younger players into that. I think we can't keep going out with the back four that we've done with the 30 plus years that are on the mall. I mean, it's not even if the young 30s, the mid 30s now. I think Hall has to come in at left back, Tino right back. if Botman's not fit, then you keep Byrne. But I think Chow has to start at the left back, centre back as well.
Yeah.
In regards to, we've got to lessen the age of that back four and get some pace in there. If not, we're going to get caught out moving forward massively. I think you can afford to have one over 30 in a back four. 3 over 30s is asking for trouble.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, you
Well,
know,
because you're including trips there, are you?
Yeah.
throw Sam Hayes in now, Win.
Yeah. That's thank you. Malik looked timid. First game jitters. Put it down to first game jitters.
Yeah, I mean, like I
Because
said,
it was a cauldron that he was thrown into. to be
exactly.
fair.
You can't really judge him a lot. It's like I said, it was just 15 minutes. You can't really see a lot of him in 15 minutes. To be fair, and like I say, it was the gauntlet at the end of the day. The atmosphere was electric. But go on, Jeff. What's your thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I thought it was quite encouraging what I saw. Wait, sorry, you're talking about the signings or the substitutes?
The substitutes, yeah.
The
What
subs, yeah.
you see or say we got on?
Which
I
were
mean,
the signings,
Hall,
of course.
having Hall come on just showed us what we've been missing. His technical ability, and I think him working with Rams on that left hand side because you saw the overlap. Man, the injection of pace was just what we needed.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love Joe Linton. He's sort of this muscle-bound Hulk. He plods around and stuff. But when you saw sort of Ramsey come on, it was like my TV was on fast forward. It was just like zoom, zoom, zoom. I was like, wow,
Yeah, it's
okay,
crazy.
interesting. The thing about Malik Thiaw, which I thought was quite interesting, was he did mess up that first bit. You're correct. I think he misjudged the ball and then.
Yeah, he was in two minds, wasn't he? Whether to head it or whether to
or
control it, and he bounced
control
off
it.
him rather than anything else.
But, good on Dan Burn coming in there, great teammate to cover him. But then in the next passage of play, he does a wonderful piece of skill that I haven't seen a centre-back do at the club. Nice little 360 pirouette,
360.
comes out and passes it.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's shown what he can do. And it's, remember, he's coming in against Liverpool. They're the champions. It was high-stakes game. I mean, he's coming when the cauldron's really hot. Let's give him some time. So, yeah, I think... the subs definitely had some impetus to kind of make an impact on the game, grab the game by the scruff of the neck. And I was just so happy for Asula to get his goal, in particular from a direct style of play, because it's something I've been screaming for all last season, that he gives you that option to just go long. And that's what we did. We launched the ball long. Dan Burn is effectively a weapon with his height.
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy on the eye, and I know I'm the one that's saying we should be playing more prettier football. However,
There's
when
times,
times
isn't
are
it?
needed, you've got to go direct. And I go back to forget the header. I mean, I think if Basula's there for the header, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to score. The one I think he has a good chance with, if he'd been on the pitch, was where Gordon outstretches his leg and Szoboszlai just gets there before him. But where Asula's got the height,
And that was a great tackle as well, by the way.
it was a good tackle. He gets there. But if you look at the goal that Asula scored, it was very similar, just launching that leg out in front. And so I think we've seen from the chances that have been created what could have been if we actually started with an actual centre forward. So let's hope coming into the Leeds game,
We've got something.
Yeah.
Question from Jay for the panel. I would like to ask the panel, how did our defence appear that last attack when they scored the winner? Well, I mean,
non-existent because they were all up the other end.
It reminded me of the England game in the final, particularly. I can't remember if it was Saka. I think Saka was at fault for it. I will blame Elanga here. I know D-Man tried to give him an outs by saying we had two up front and he was the forward player. He's not a wide player. So that's why he was further from goal. But in my opinion, it's very similar where you've seen that the defence has shifted across. So where the balls come in, you can see Tino's in a central position. Why is the right back in a central position? Because the defence has shifted along. So naturally, whether it's a defensive midfielder, depends if he's in front of the goal, or the winger has to tuck into that full back space. There's no excuses. You have to get there. And seeing sort of Elanga sauntering on, and I know he's had a hard game. He's run for 90 plus minutes, but he's got to try and get there.
Yeah.
Lads, can I be honest with this? with the loss, the loss breaks your heart. But I'd rather we were playing the way we were, that we were going for the win. That sort of fills us full of confidence in that we were 10 men, we were losing, and we were still going for the win.
Yeah, well,
I'm
I
not.
mean,
I'm not. I'm not. I'm
a
not going
lot of
to.
this, a lot
I'm
of
not.
this
I'm not
scouts
going to
is in.
slag. I'm not going to slag
No,
any of the team off
I'm
for
not.
doing that. I think, in
A
the
lot, a
past,
lot of the scouts that's in the chat were saying when the 11 minutes went up almost to a man, the crowd were, come on, we
yeah.
can get the winner here.
And I'm not going to slag the team off for
No,
not sitting
I'm
back.
not either.
I love the fact that we went forward,
Yeah.
and
It's
we- we-
2020
we-
again, 2020 hindsight. What a stupid thing to do.
Listen, I mean, Liverpool had 13 passes of play down that right hand side. I mean, it was typical Liverpool. And again, it's about movement of the ball, quick minds. No first touch. It was instant. It was like a pass. And when you look at it, everybody's trying to get back into position as they are triggering these little passages of play down that right hand side. We go to attack into a mid block, but again, the space between midfield and defenders is the problem. That is what we said before. Once the ball bypasses you and you haven't got your Tonalis on the park, who have got the two plodders, which was Miley and Bruno, trying to get back and track the ball, right? So what you get then is Dan Burn goes out to Salah to try and close the space down. On the eyesight of Malik Chow, and I can't remember who it is, I think it could be Chiesa, who's just on the edge of the box. So Malik Chow goes out of the three because you've got Bruno, Chow, and then Tino behind. Tino has got Zoboszlai in front of him, who's creeped into the box, and Rio at the back of him. So he's shouting up the field for Elanga to sprint 30 yards while the ball's on the edge of the box to get back. I mean, even if he tried, he couldn't have got back because of the build-up play from Liverpool. And that's what I said. Sometimes you've got to hold your hand up and say, quick feet, quick minds, good players can beat you on one movement of play. And I've always said the ball is round, your feet are flat. The ball moves a lot quicker than your feet. So if you're good enough, you can utilise the space required. And Zoboszlai, with his dummy, his little cameo over the ball, gives young 16-year-old Rio an opportunity to make a name for himself. And, fair play to him because he was still under a lot of pressure, don't forget, to hit that ball first time. You know what I mean? That could have gone up into the stands. And he kept his composure. And, Liverpool seemed to have a little gold nugget there on young Rio, number 73. Can't say his surname. But, at the end of the day, a little bit of more togetherness. And again, you're talking about a player who's been thrown into the deep end. A lot of people, including myself, Chow's out of position. But again, he's seen a player which has attracted him. And that's where everybody just steps out a line. And unfortunately, again, you could say the camaraderie, the atmosphere, the passion. He wanted to, he wanted to impress. He didn't want to just stand still. He wanted to close that space down. He just didn't listen to Tino that was behind him, telling him to drop back. But again, it's about marking that half space rather than marking the player.
Do you guys think Murphy makes it if he's on?
No.
Do you think Murphy, or do you think Murphy reads the danger?
Well, would Murphy have been that far upfield with the system that Eddie adopted, which is this 4-3-2? Where would Murphy be in this 4-3-2?
Probably right of midfield, I reckon.
Well, we've seen him there before. He's the Harrison Ashby of that midfield, isn't he? You'll lose him to a degree. Yes, he has that more defensive mindset, if you like. And again, once you've got that second goal, is it a case of then holding on to what you've got?
But I make the point again with that guy. But no, I make the point again with that. No. I make the point again with that.
Then we will continue to be plucky losers, then, Pokey. We will continue to be plucky losers, if that's what you want. 0 points.
Guys, you're
Boy,
talking.
it was a good performance.
Okay, Jeffo, let me just ask you. I asked Win this at dinner time as well, right? We sit back and we take the draw. You get a point. If we'd have pushed on and got the win, we get 3 points. Now, the attitude of Newcastle and the gaffer seems to have changed somewhat. Last season, going into this season, points ain't good enough. So, like I said, you've come away from 2 games, right? You've come away from 2 games, played really well with 2 points.
So wait, hold on a second.
Come on, then.
Aston Villa away. Personally, I think most people expected a loss.
Yeah,
We got a point. So that's +1 for me.
it's a +1.
Liverpool at home
Against 10 men, you see, that to me is 2 points dropped.
But it's still a point. We've got a point on the board away from home where we got smashed last season, by the way. So that's +1, and that's a good draw for me. Then at home, most people who aren't dreamers are expecting us to lose to Liverpool.
Yeah,
There you go.
So if you then are in a position to get a draw, that's +1 again. So you actually got a positive start, and you can actually say, guess what? We're undefeated, and we've snatched the game from the jaws of defeat.
No
So
way.
Guess what?
Hold on, guys, hold on. So there's a different perspective. You're 2-0 down. You've got it to 2-2. You're only naive if you think you're going to go on to win the game 3-2. See the game out. And that's where we have to progress. That's part of that ruthlessness of, you know what, let's pick it up. A little bit of logic, a little bit of nous, on to the next game.
Yeah, but how many times have we looked vulnerable? Yeah, but how many times have we looked vulnerable? Yeah, but hold on. We have lost games from trying to hold on to draws so many times in the past.
When? We always go for it. That's always been our biggest problem.
We haven't.
We're naive. I mentioned AC Milan already.
Yeah, we're blowing against AC Milan. The very next game, Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, Chelsea equalise, so we're dropping to our shell for the last 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they just piled in and won. And everybody's saying, why did he sit back? Why did he sit
Why didn't we
back?
go for it? Why didn't we go for it? That's what I said. You can't. Eddie's changed his philosophy.
2020 hindsight, man. How weird.
Jeff has your
okay. So be happy. A great performance, guys, but 0 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big fat 0. And
Okay. Let me.
I'm happy. If you guys want to be plucky losers, we can be plucky losers.
It's not about being plucky losers.
It's to learn how to pick up points, and you move to the next one. Every point is crucial. We saw that last season. If Man United hadn't have beaten Villa on the last day because we lost, right? Because we lost. To Everton.
Everton, yeah.
You look back, the 3-3 draw against Liverpool all of a sudden becomes important.
Well, you look back and the losses against Fulham, Brentford, Bournemouth also become important because we didn't get involved in them games.
But again, their games were expected to win, fine, and I would judge us against those. But these are the bonus games where you would argue we're not favourites. So when you're in a position to pick up points, whether it's 1 or 3, you take something. We end up with nothing.
The reason we finished in the Champions League last season instead of Aston Villa is because we won more games than they did. Simple as.
I'm going to keep
they lost fewer than we did.
Anyway,
we won more than they did. Those 3 points.
I'm going to keep speaking here until somebody lets us.
Yeah, go on, Boke. Go on.
In regards to that, do you think Bobby Robson or Keegan would have sat back? They wouldn't have. They'd have went for the win. That's what you want. You want a manager who thinks we can win this game.
Fine. If it's against...
Let us finish, Jeff, before you jump in. You know, you can't expect... If we're calling him for not being positive enough, you can't then call him when he's going for it. And he really went for it in that game. And, you know,
But
again, let us finish. You've got to respect him for doing that. Bobby Robson would have done exactly the same. Keegan would have done exactly the same.
No,
You'd rather pick up 3 points than have to pick up 1.
I would have respected him if, like most top managers would have, and said, "Guys, bank of 5 at the back, please. Let's keep our block. We know our defensive shape. We probably would have been able to stop that third, by the way, if we'd have more men at the back. You know, we have to learn from this because this has happened historically. Whether we're leaking at the end, whether we're getting caught on the break, whatever it is, you know, we need to push on. And I know from an entertainment perspective, it's not the best, but it shows a level of maturity that we've learned from the past. And all of a sudden, instead of 1 point, we've got 2. And from 2 very hard games, we're undefeated. So in terms of mentality and everything like that, you go into the next game with even more confidence. Yeah, I'm not saying they're going to lose confidence, because the fact is we played well, but it's that cherry on top that you've got the point. And, we've already lost the game at home. So there you go. So it's up to you guys. If you're happy, this is what takes you from one level to another. If you're happy to be Also Ran's participation award, we played well, we were so brave, but we didn't get anything, that's fine. That's a mid-table attitude. I want us to start getting like the top 6, where you're just ruthless.
But then
put the boss
Hang
there.
on. Who's
block
been
the
getting
effort,
top 6?
get the
Who's
point.
been getting top 6? Who's been getting Champions League 2 out of 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean,
You're talking like it's been 5-6 seasons in a row. It hasn't, has it?
respect to Keegan and Robson, but what did they win? Says David Knight. Well,
We need to be
thanks for the
ruthless,
£2.
guys.
You're absolutely right. Entertainment was great, but they didn't actually come back with any silverware, which Eddie has.
And Eddie has.
So,
But it depends
maybe.
what you want as
Anyway,
well.
listen.
New season, guys. New
It's
season.
a new season. Yeah,
Do you
new
want
season.
Pressure gets higher.
I mean, there's an argument for both sides. I understand that. And like I say, any point against the champions of the Premier League, and again, they are defending champions. So there's a lot more pressure on them than there is on us, as daft as it looks, because they know that every team that goes for them are going to go for them. We saw it at Bournemouth last week. We saw it at St James's Park last night. And again, that's going to be the same wherever Liverpool go, unfortunately. Anyway, let's finish.
And they've spent 300,000.
And the million. If only they'd spent 300. Yeah, only again. We keep going back to the PSR issues. We've still got to have the players to commit to what the way Liverpool, Arsenal, and the like play. I don't think we're quite there yet. Anyway, the final piece of news. There was a photograph taken of a free Isak poster in Curry's seen earlier today. And the last time we saw Isak was him coming out of Curry's. Anyway, where I don't know who's put that sign up, and I'll let you guys have that one in the bank. So there you go. So anyway, thank you so much, one and all, for again. We started off so well, me and you, Andy, and then these two subs come in, and it just blows up
But
out of
happened
all
to Andy?
proportions.
Andy was supposed to be coming.
He's unfortunately taken one of his family members to A&E, so unfortunately couldn't make tonight, but he'll see him on Thursday. So again, thank you, Mr. Bokey. Thank you, the 2 subs, the Mighty Win, and our Jefferson from 90s Mags. I told you should go and watch 90s Mags, because they always give a different view on every game. Always a good watch or a good listen. I do always have a little bit of a smile when I listen to these guys on 90s Mags, because they all, again, not everybody has the same opinion. So again, good place to go and listen to.
It's a very common channel as well.
It is. It's a very calming channel. It's unlike this one, which seems to get very boisterous at times.
Can I say something real quick? I think
Go
Bob was determined to break up the TV chef partnership. he wanted to show he was like, Ainsley, sod Ainsley.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be on my own.
Heston's coming for you, boy.
Yeah, Heston's coming. Anyway, we are back at midday tomorrow. I think Chris is doing that one. I don't know whether Wynn's on there.
Yeah,
I'll be back tomorrow night with any news. 9 o'clock again, I think it is tomorrow. And we'll see where we are on the build-up to the Leeds game, obviously the weekend. So hopefully I'll get some news and reports from the injuries so we can see what's going on. But until then, it's a goodbye from them lot over there.
It's a goodbye from them over him over there. And away the lads.
Lassies and bairns. Thanks all in the chat. And before we go, I suppose we better do a little bit of lovely for all the lads that have super chatted. Samai.
34 more likes. Oh, wait, 34 more likes.
Andy Barwick, Samai, Chris the American Mag. Did you do Chris's super chat? Did you? I couldn't remember that one. Samai did loads of them. So thanks, Sam. And David Knight, thank you so much for your super chats. Very kind of you. But until tomorrow, ta-ra for now.
Ta-da.